The Democrat Party has been completely taken over by socialists. So gone is your grandmother's Democrat Party. 20 years ago, the Democrats were basically positing a moderate left position. They've now gone the way of Bernie, of AOC, and now the Democratic Socialists of America. This group has now been responsible for positing some of the most un-American extreme positions that you've ever heard of. And quite frankly, if any one of these candidates who holds these beliefs gets into a federal national position, they're going to do some major destruction. So this lady, Megan Romer, who is the co-chair for the DSA, she's going to talk about some of their policies within the Democrat Socialist Group of America. And remember, this is exactly how Mamdani, the mayor in New York City, feels. This is exactly how AOC and Bernie feel, the squad, Ilhan Omar. I mean, the list just goes on and on. So let's look at what this DSA, now think Democrats, are going to run on in the midterms and in the 28 elections.
So we're going to put up on the screen a few of the things that are part of your platform, and I want to ask you, just give me sort of a true or false on these. Abolish the Senate.
True.
Okay. Replace the presidency and Supreme Court as we now know them.
Yep.
Okay.
Abolish ICE.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Abolish borders and give amnesty to anyone currently in the U.S. illegally.
As a long-term plan, yep.
Defund the Pentagon.
Absolutely.
Abolish prisons, at least in large part.
Yeah, again, that as part of a long-term program, yeah.
Okay, so no prisons. Government or public ownership of most large corporations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're going to put up.
I mean, folks, if you go through this, this is the most absurd platform that you've ever heard. And it's actually failing at the national level. When you look at the ability, and let's take a pause before we get to this next clip. The only way, there's two avenues to win at the national level, is to have a message that resonates with the majority of people, right, in a representative republic, or to cheat. But to do it the first way, a free and fair, honest election, you have to be convincing, and specifically you have to be convincing of the people, the voters in the middle, the independents. So you always see this, right? This is just strategy 101 from a political standpoint. You win your primary by being extreme, and you win your national level election, the real one, by moderating your message, because you're then catering to the independents. So let's see what the independent voters, according to this poll on Meet the Press, feel about socialism and the DSA platform.
Season, socialists winning Democratic primaries, candidates from the far left. And look at this here. Among Democrats, this is that Fox poll, a majority have a favorable view of socialism. Step outside the Democratic Party, it's a totally different world. Look at independence, socialism, deeply unpopular there. So is that...
This, I'm going to stop on this image here. You need to see this, because this is the battle that's going on that you're observing when you see Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi and AOC all grab microphones. This issue of socialism at the larger level is not a decisive win even within the Democrat voters. Only 52% of them are favorable, whereas 43% are unfavorable. So there's still a massive group within the group that needs to be decisive to be able to win the national platform, or with a socialist spin. But when you bring it out to the independents, this completely falls apart. Because your soccer mom in Kansas or Iowa or New Hampshire isn't going to fall for this. Again, I'm going to remind you what their platform was: abolishing the Senate, the presidency, the Supreme Court, abolishing ICE, borders, and prisons. I mean, these are not issues that any soccer mom that I know of would ever vote for. defunding the Pentagon, and then mass amnesty for illegals. So when you're looking at why the independents aren't going for this, part of the reason is because the majority of Democrats are just barely in agreement with this, and that's simply because some of this group lives in their mom's basement. They don't have kids, so they're this generation whatever, from 20 to 30 years old that are completely disillusioned with their basket weaving bachelor degree that they got, and they can't find a job other than working at the gas station. So what would they rather do? They'd rather be an Instagram creator or just play video games in mom's basement. That's part of that 52% that you see here. But it gets worse.
Add a vulnerability for Democrats that would keep them from capitalizing on Trump's obvious weaknesses here. Look more specifically at the two chambers here. Senate side, this, if you're a Democrat, this is the particularly tough one. They need a net gain of 4 seats to get control of the Senate. Take a look at the map here. How would they get 4? 4 is their target number. First thing, they can't lose ground. Georgia, New Hampshire, Michigan, Democratic seats. Big primary coming up in Michigan in a few weeks there. They could have general election implications. Democrats have to win those just to not lose ground. Then the 2 Republican seats they think they have the best shot at would be Susan Collins in Maine. Democrats have a new candidate there now. And in North Carolina, where Democrats have nominated the former governor season.
So they don't have a chance in North Carolina, but back to this image here, they absolutely have a chance with Susan Collins. But when you look at where the vote, this was the initial visual that the Democrats need to have. Susan Collins is a red seat, but she votes blue the whole way through. So losing her seat in Maine isn't going to be a heartbreaker, and quite frankly will change this little graphic, but won't change the reality because she doesn't vote aligned with Donald Trump and MAGA principles ever. Never has. She's, in fact, one of the 5 senators that's against the Save America Act. But let's get back to the genius of this DSA spokesperson and just listen to how she tries to practically explain how to actualize their DSA platform.
So abolish ICE, would there be any enforcement of immigration laws, or with abolishing the border, we're not enforcing immigration laws, they go away?
Yeah, so again, this is part of this longer term plan, and part of it.
But if you can,
it's a longer term plan to completely blow up America as we know it.
get there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can get to the place where the U.S. is not destabilizing countries in order to mine them for resources, there will be significantly less migration.
What do you say to those, though,
not...
that would potentially destabilize the U.S.? Because there's only so much the economy can bear, and when you have a flood of people coming in, it might not work out economically, according to a lot of analyses, if you just open up the borders and there's no enforcement.
This is first grade math, and this is the problem that socialism doesn't have. Socialism actually wants to be this religion and this cult, and that it sounds great in principle, again, when you live in your mom's basement playing Call of Duty all day long. But it has a fundamental math problem, because when there's more givers or more takers than givers, socialism falls apart. You've seen this every single time socialism has been implemented. It does not last, because when the money runs out, listen, it's really fun spending other people's money. Who wouldn't like doing that? The problem is, what do you do when the money runs out? And this lady has no explanation for it, and the Democrats don't, because this talking point of allowing illegal aliens to have health care, to get into our schools, to actually be feeding off of our social services, 60+% of immigrants to this country are on our social services program. So they're not contributing to our country, they're taking from our country.
At all.
Well, we're not saying open the borders tomorrow. We're saying rebuild an economy
eventually.
and a society that works for everyone. And the open borders is part of a longer-term international plan that involves us stopping destabilizing countries. Most people who are coming to this country are coming as economic refugees, and we destabilized their country. We did that.
Well, a lot of, if you look at data, the Center for Immigration.
I mean, just look at this lady again. White liberal women are part of the problem. They are the problem. This lady's insane. She hasn't seen the southern border. She hasn't seen some of the crime and other destruction that the millions and millions of illegals have caused. She just sits here in her Ivy League classroom with her red glasses on, evidently eating bonbons and thinking that her cult called socialism is going to work. It will take this country out within weeks, years, because again, it's a math problem. When the money runs out, socialism stops working.
Study says right now, the households here in the U.S. that are headed up by people who are here illegally, nearly 61% of them are on some type of government or welfare program here in the U.S. Can we afford to do that? I mean, at some point, you run out of resources.
Well, right now, we make it very difficult for people to participate in society in such a way that they can.
Listen to what just said. Her answer to illegal aliens, 61% of them being on our social services, is actually, she wants it higher. She's saying that we make it too hard for our illegal aliens to be on our social services. That's her answer. We want more. We want that number higher. Again, when there's more takers than givers, the math just doesn't math.
They can avoid using services. So we want people to be able to work and live and go to school and actually participate, which means contributing to society and also getting what they need from society.
Here's a question for you. Name one country, just one, and this is a deep question. Name one country that would allow you and your family to move to not join the country, meaning as far as an official citizenship application, to send your kids to their school, to send you and your wife to the hospital if you're having a baby or you break your leg, and demand free health care, to be on all of the social services and networks that they have for their citizens, and then for you to vote in their elections. Name one. I'll wait. There isn't one. That's the reality, that any country that has any desire to continue being a country would never let any of these policies that the Democrat Socialists of America are positing. But I'm going to leave you with this. The DSA has had local pockets in Michigan, in New York City. That was the biggest example of their winning, of their candidates winning. You see it also with AOC. You see it with Mamdani. You see it with the squad in Michigan, and you're going to see it up in Maine with the person that's probably going to win the Democrat candidate. That was the person that is their second candidate. I'll put it nicely, because the first one didn't quite work out so well. But the point is, they're going to win in some of these pockets, but these pockets can't translate, meaning this message won't be able to translate at the national level unless you cheat. So looking at some of the comments, and this is where I wanted to kind of come around third base. This guy, Steve, actually says it correct. It doesn't matter how unpopular the DSA and their message is. They will win by cheating. And if you call them out, they'll throw you in jail. I agree with you, Steve, because this is what socialists do. They're going to manipulate the count, spend your money, and if you have a problem with it, put you in Siberia. They've done it for years. We've seen this movie. We've read this book. And now John Hick, and this is the critical piece, really brings this home, because this is exactly how I feel. John says, just pass the SAVE Act and end this crap, this BS in Iran, and focus on getting prices down, and then you won't have to worry about any midterm elections. He's speaking to the Republicans. I would argue and take it one step further. just passed the SAVE Act, duh, because we want free and fair elections. Because if we don't have them, that's the only way that DSA candidates can get in at the national level. End all of these foreign wars. This is ridiculous what's happening in Iran. The amount of money and blood that we're spending overseas is terrible and needs to stop because it's the economy, stupid. This is what we've known for 30 plus years in politics. How you win is how you drive the economy, meaning your domestic issues. So focus on getting prices down, and you won't have to worry about the midterms. And John, I'm going to go one step further. You won't have to worry about another election again, Republicans, if you pass the SAVE Act and drive domestic policies. That's the winning ticket. If you've yet to subscribe to the Chris Locke Show, please do so. We'd love to have you along for the ride. We made it really easy for you. Just above my shoulder here, if you click that icon, you could subscribe to the channel. And over on my other shoulder, we have 2 videos. So if you like this video, you're going to love these 2. Pick your favorite, and we'll see you over there.